This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
GameWorn Radio is on the air.
Hey! Nelson scores! Up in the Cordova, baby! We're going bowling. Now, let's go on Moose on a Harley. The fires, he scores! LA face with an Oakland Mooney. Goal! Make me a bicycle club. They score! Bowmeister paid that man his money.
GameWorn Radio.
Hey everybody, it's Derek, GameWorn Radio, part of GameWorn.us, and I'm here with Matt, Doc, and Dan, and we're going to talk a little bit about the art of the trade. That topic was brought to you by Matt. He wants to talk a little bit about it, some of the issues that he's facing today, and how he wants to get a little bit of recommendations on how to figure that stuff out. We also have a few other things that we can talk about too if we get there. One of them is an eBay auction about a specific, was it Boston jersey? Something like that. Yeah, and we can talk about vintage and how the vintage collecting market is going. So, first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and open up to Matt. So, Matt, feel free to take the floor on your topic.
All right. Hey, guys. I just curious as to everyone's thoughts on what makes a trade, and I see that trades appear to be a thing of the past in terms of trying to line up one. I feel like the stars must align to get the proper trade with somebody out there, because you have to have something that they want and vice versa. And sometimes that doesn't always work. But when it does, and you both have something, how do you compare what's a fair deal? Do you do it on perceived price? Do you do it on perceived wear? Do you consider many factors? Do you do points for that player? Just curious. Or scarcity of the jersey?
You know, that's kind of a tough one. I mean, it's a multifaceted thing. When you take a look at it, it really comes down to who you're trying to trade with, what they have, what their interests are. I mean, first and foremost. I would say the reason it's harder to trade is you have to feel like you're getting something that you want out of it. People don't trade just to trade right now because, let's face it, very few people are in close proximity, and it costs money to trade stuff. You're going to spend $15 to ship something. They're going to spend $15 to ship something. I mean, unless you're going to an expo or a gathering, trading ain't free. So you kind of have to feel like you get something out of it. I gotta get something that I want and get rid of something that I care less about.
No, I'm with you on that. I just meant sometimes a jersey might be available for you to trade that is of a premium value, and people come along, and instead of making that opportunity with a trade, they're about the money. And that, you know, money is nice, but you feel like it's a fire sale, and you're not trying to sell it. You're happy to keep the jersey, and someone's like, what's the lowest price you'd go on that, baby? And you're... Go ahead.
Welcome to the hobby.
Yeah, I know. Very true.
Everything has a perceived value these days, and there is no, like, break-even strategy. It's always trying to get one up. That's just the way it is. I think that's life anymore. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. It doesn't matter what you're in.
Oh, agreed. I'm in a great position right now where I trade. We've been a fellow collector and I have been working on a trade for, I think, over a month, just going back and forth, and I'm very happy with how it's progressing, and I'm excited to see what transpires with it. But I was just curious as to what everyone else's experience is or has been with, maybe you have an item. Well, let's stick with like one specific area, because I don't want to get into the vagaries of it all. But say you had an NHL jersey. We'll say a Detroit Red Wings Stanley Cup Finals jersey. I'm just doing this for maybe the host of the show, but maybe he's not real happy to own a Jimmy McCowan Stanley Cup Finals jersey, and he'd want to move it, huh?
Who the fuck is that?
You don't even remember who he is?
No, man.
All right, never mind. How about Dmitry Mironov? I know he played for the Wings during the Stanley Cup Finals.
Who the fuck is
'98. Really?
Just fucking pick somebody that everybody knows, man.
Okay, we'll just say he has a Keith Primo Finals jersey from 90. What's that? 95? Is he there?
that? You mean the
Regardless-
non-cup year? I don't remember what happened there. Can we talk about 96, 97?
Okay, a Konstantinov Finals jersey. How about that?
Okay, I'll take it.
You guys are bastards. so you maybe you're not happy with it. Maybe you have two Finals jerseys and you're okay with getting rid of one. Are you okay getting back 4 or 5 smaller pieces, or would you prefer to trade 1 for 1 or 1 for 2 if it's the right thing?
I would take 4 to 5 smaller pieces if they fit what I was looking for, and if the summation was probably a little bit more in value in my mind than the individual jersey. I think when it comes down to, for me, if I'm going to trade for multiple lower end ones, the overall value would have to be a little bit more in my favor.
I agree with that.
Value.
I think that's the biggest issue that we have. There's no who determines the value of the jerseys.
It's what it's worth to me. Here's
Well, that,
an example.
The trade is worth you. If you say a jersey A and jersey B that you're trading with, and you say, well, I want that jersey, so I'll overtrade for it. I'll overpay for it.
I've done that.
And I've done it too. But people look at it, and when you offer a trade, and this happened to me, there's no guide for the value of jerseys. Example, most of us that start out in the card collecting, that's how we got into it. We started out with card collecting, and everybody referred to Beckett. Not saying Beckett was right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what you went to. When you went to a show, you wanted a card, they pulled out Beckett, and they said the high and the low, here's what the card is buying and selling for. Don't have that for jerseys. The closest thing we have, maybe, arguably, is Migraine. And I only say that because that happened to me within the last week. Someone said, well, Migraine's selling them, and with their sale, it's valued at this much. I'm like, well, really? So because Migraine has a big sale, because they have 10 of them, they can have their big sales. Doesn't mean the jerseys really work that much. It's just at the sale.
All right.
So that's where the thing comes in.
Perceived value is always comes down to the individual. People want to price stuff, and that's fine. They want to say, the value is this much, but it's not the value. It's my value.
Well, that's where the trade problem comes in. Is you both have different values of jerseys.
You need to figure out what the value is to that person, what is comparable to that person. Here's an example. I had somebody that had the University of Michigan Glendenning jersey that I wanted, and he didn't want to sell it. He just wanted to trade it, which is fine. But I had to go find a jersey that was, what he wanted. I think it was a Toledo Walleye Batman edition jersey thingamabob. Well, at the time, they were all snatched up. So I ended up having to pay cash money at a premium that I would never, ever, ever in my life pay to get this damn Batman jersey just so I can dish it off and get that jersey I wanted. Now, the jersey I wanted it that bad, so the perceived value for me was the amount that I paid for the other jersey, otherwise I wouldn't have done it. But the first jersey had no value to me. I didn't want it. So perceived value is a funny thing. And it's a means to an end as well.
That's the one that you had to go out and dig and find this jersey to get the jersey you want.
I have to go get this jersey I don't care about. It's worth nothing to me, and I have to pay cash money for it so I can get rid of that jersey and get the jersey I want.
Well, that's kind of a different topic. That's kind of saying that's something you really want. That Glendenning Michigan jersey, that's
perceived value. Nobody else can pay that much for it.
Your perceived value for that is much higher than what other people would perceive it as.
And if you came to me and wanted to trade for it, you'd have to trade, probably an awful lot.
Because, way
more than it would be worth to you.
Right, because you have to pull it from your hand. I think Matt was talking about this. You're just talking about 2 jerseys or a jersey, and we're not over at say, hey, I'd like to add that jersey to my collection. Not the grails, not the
What's
oh my
the
god,
point
it's
of
my
a trade?
player.
Isn't the point of a trade to get something you want?
Well, why you buy it? Wouldn't it be the same thing? I mean, you don't just go buy a jersey to buy a jersey, do you? I mean, you're usually buying it for a reason.
Well, you
want
might want
either-
it at that point, or maybe you think you're getting a good deal,
Right.
it's a good investment, or it's a good trade bait for later on.
True, but there's a reason why you buy it. There's a reason why you trade for it. I mean, unless you're really specific, like let's just say, for example, you're Glendenning's. They're specific to you. It's not something that you're just gonna on a whim buy. You're not buying them to flip them. So those aren't probably very good examples for the
They're
discussion.
pretty terrible examples because nobody would ever pay what I pay for them. They're fucking
And we
terrible
all-
examples.
Every
Don't say that.
Every person.
Nobody would
Well-
ever pay what I pay for them. Nobody.
His mom.
No, probably not.
Oh.
I don't think
Like you
even
said,
he
nobody.
would. He'd probably look at me if he saw them and be like, cool for you, bro, I'm going over here.
It seems like everybody's become more specialized, and that's making it harder to trade.
That's not a terrible thing, though. Collect what you want.
I'm not
That's
saying
right.
it's a terrible thing. I'm just saying that I think that's like one of the roadblocks out there.
Well, and like we've touched on quite a bit in this conversation already, is everybody values their stuff different ways. It's very difficult getting what I would consider a fair market value for a particular jersey. Yes, you can go look at My Gray and say, oh, they have 6 at this price. And no offense to Barry or My Gray in general, but their pricing, if they've got 6 at $5.95 in the secondary market, that's probably a $300 or $400 jersey max. And trying to get people to agree on, I mean, Jesus, even just trying to sell jerseys right now, the market sucks. Both sides want to get the best value. In most cases, I made a trade recently at a game issued goalie Kings jersey, and the guy sent me a bunch of different picture jerseys he had, and I went with a Buffalo issued one just because I liked the style. We did an equal trade, and there was really no back and forth. He was happy, I was happy, but when it's more, I guess, specific to my collection or whoever collection, you're going to try and maximize the value over, not even trying to screw the other person, but you're trying to maximize the value in the trade. And I've seen 3 and 4 way trades and money in trades and all this stuff. But you're right, it's getting extremely difficult to make those kind of deals. I mean, as I post stuff, I get, do you want to trade this, and do you want to have helmets and sticks and all this stuff? And when I get very specific, then all that stuff disappears, and I usually don't make deals.
Well, check it out. I see what some of the problem is people aren't putting their valuation on something, they're applying somebody else's valuation on something, or immediately applying what they paid as the value on something. So I've seen a lot of, My Gray has it for this price, so I would like something of similar value according to My Gray's price on something else. So for example, they have I'm gonna be very fictitious, so nobody come after me for this, but they have a Chelios jersey for $1,000. They've had it for a long time. And then they have it's hard for me to think of player examples. Let's go with, give me a name. All right, they have a Wisniewski.
Glendenning.
They have a Wisniewski jersey. They'll never have a Glendenning. They have a Wisniewski jersey for $1,000, right? Why? Don't ask me. These are fictitious. So now people are looking at it saying Wisniewski's worth $1,000 and Chelios is worth $1,000, but they've been sitting there and they're clearly not worth that because they're not selling. So where's the value at it? Well, you can't. Nobody applies personal value at that point. Then nobody says, well, to me the Chelios would be worth more like $750 and the other one, who the fuck did I say? Wisniewski, would be worth 500 to me. You know, they take it as this is the retail price through MyGray, so that is the value of the jersey baseline. They're applying it baseline style. I mean, that's cool. That works in like maybe the hockey card market, but it don't work in this market. I mean, unless you don't want to make deals, you don't want to. You really just have to evaluate and analyze what the other person wants. That's where you're going to get your perceived value.
And it's same like with taking Fanatics is another one with the Blues jerseys especially. seeing the prices that they were at, and then seeing them hit a bunch of them hit NHL auctions when they started a Fabry at Jesus, I think it was $1,500 or $1,800, and it sold on NHL auctions for $500 after they'd posted it there 5 separate times. So it's comparing.
Retail value is a terrible thing to compare to.
It's awful.
And the worst part is you cannot break people and you cannot reason with people against doing that.
Agreed. Or if they come up out of the clear blue and say, did you see what that jersey sold for in the classic auctions? I think an auction is also one of the worst examples on what a jersey is worth because so many factors go into that. I mean, even if you take the hammer fee and drop that off of the price of it, and you look at some of these auctions, sometimes they're like, oh, we're selling the North Dakota set of jerseys there. So there's so many variables there that just, maybe this guy said, oh, I lost out on the Taves jersey. I'm going to go for the Parise. And they bid that up to, an astronomical amount of money.
That, or they post a fucking entire collection. Hey, I've got 1,000 Red Wing jerseys. Let me put these out there. You really think, the Red Wing collector is going to bid on 1,000 fucking Red Wing jerseys? No. So now it
saturates the market.
You decreased the potential bidding on that, so you can't apply that value. You have to compare what's available in that auction to really analyze what that ending price is. I picked up a Holmstrom for the same price as it went in an auction. I'd never pay that to the auction place, but I thought it was a fair price for it. I ain't gonna sell it for less than that because I think it's worth more than that, but it just went low, or what I would think is low in the auction, and to me it's worth more than that. Auctions and retail are terrible. You have to go based on what you feel. I mean, it's like a Sidney Crosby jersey. I ain't gonna spend 10 grand on one. It's not worth 10 grand to me. Not gonna do it.
But other people will drop $28,000 on a one GameWorn McDavid.
That's correct. So it's
because they think it's hot shit. But 10 years from now,
totally. I mean, look at what was it? Was it 80 grand? I cannot remember for my life, but it was like 80 grand for some of his earlier jerseys. It's like it's worth that to nobody but the person who bought it, and maybe a couple other people that were waiting to try and buy it. But to you and me, no. But to them, yes. So if you went to go try and get that jersey, you're gonna have to pay out the nose for it. And it's because it's the perceived value of that jersey to that specific person. They want it that much. And that's why I hate it when, like, teams, for example, the Walleye, they sell all their jerseys on a first come, like the 12-hour wait for a Walleye jersey. Like, that's terrible.
Fuck them, I'm done with them.
It's an interesting thing. It's a multifaceted situation, and there's no one answer to it, and there's no formula. There is no price guide. There will never be a price guide. You can't do a price guide. You can't do retail value. You can't say it went for auction at this point. And I mean, look at the prices. They change all the time based on the situation of the player too. I mean, a player moves from a team to a team. His jersey could potentially go up going to that team, or it could tank because nobody wants that jersey anymore because he's out of sight, out of mind. You see it all the time. So it's so much more than retail value. It's response to the market. It's what people want. It's what the feeling at the time. It's a living, breathing organism.
Agree.
Very true.
And and at the end of the day, I mean, I love making trades and dealing with other people, And you know what? If we can both come to an agreement and we're happy, at the end of the day, that's all I want. And I don't care if I mean, sometimes you make deals where they're paying shipping, other times it's built into the price. But at the end of the day, I just want to be happy in whatever I've done. I don't take a lot of this shit serious or personal, but I also try and find people to deal with, or I deal with people, and I continue to deal with new people, but I try and educate them. And if I shoot them a price and they don't like it, I don't get all bent. It's like, you know what? This is where I value it. If you don't like it, there's other ones out there. Move on.
Speaking of taking shit personally, what's up, Casey?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Case.
Before the show,
Hey,
we were
did
just
you guys
talking about
know-
how I couldn't get a hold of you.
You guys
because-
mentioned earlier. Are you still there? Yeah, you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You guys were mentioning Stanley Cup jerseys. Did you guys know that the Penguins have won back-to-back Stanley Cup championships?
Did you know how many people in this call care?
I do.
Well,
I
yeah.
care.
I mean, 2. It's more than 1.
Dan, you don't care. Shut up. Shut your mouth.
Sorry, man.
So, to comment on the trades, I've only made one trade in the past, 16 years I've been doing this. But to your point, Derek, it is about finding not only what you value and what you want to add to your collection, but it's also about finding what the other person wants to add to their collection. I made a deal with a guy. There was a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey up for auction. I could give 2 shits about the Pittsburgh Steelers. If they never won another game, I wouldn't care. But it was a Jack Ham Pittsburgh Steelers jersey. I'd never seen Jack Ham play. I didn't know if he was good or not, but the guy wanted the shirt. So we worked out a deal, the Jack Ham jersey plus cash for his 1992 Stanley Cup Finals Mario Lemieux jersey. The auction ended. I tried to send a wire transfer. The wire transfer got kicked back because I had, I think, the individual's name on it rather than the auction house's name. Anyway, thank God it did, because when I knew the guy who runs the auction house, I had used to work with him at Leland's, and he broke off and did his own thing. But anyway, he sent the jersey to the guy that I was trading with. He knew the deal, and I said, hey, ship it to him. I don't want the shirt. We've got a deal in place. He's going to send me the jersey that I want. So anyway, he sent the jersey overnight, and the wire got kicked back. I said, hey, don't worry about it. I'll put a check in the mail to you. The guy who I was trading with got the jersey and said that he didn't want it. He said that it had been altered. And I don't know anything about football jerseys. Anyway, I said, look, I told the auction house, look, this guy who's a Steelers expert is telling me that the jersey's been altered. So the check that I sent to you, just tear it up when you get it. And he said, well, I can't do that. And I said, what do you mean you can't do that? He said, well, you bought the jersey. And I said, yeah, but it's been altered. And anyway, I ended up putting a stop payment on the check, and we ended up doing a cash deal. But that was the only trade agreement that I had. So to your point, Derek, you need to find, I'm not saying you specifically, but if you're looking to make a trade, it's a good idea to explore what the other person wants, and maybe you can find something of value. The Jack Ham jersey, went for what it did, but I felt like I was getting value because I would have paid way more for the Lemieux jersey than I got in trade value on the Jack Ham. So I think the key is just finding out what the other person wants, hunting it down, and then working a trade agreement.
Holy shit, are you saying that we agree on something?
First time for everything.
Hold on, write it down. Write it down.
But wouldn't you rather have a McDavid jersey, Casey?
He's the best. Nobody better.
Casey, I love teasing you. I'm sorry, brother.
That's okay. If there was an NHL Network ranking of game-worn hockey jersey collectors, Sean Schock would be number 1, no question.
Where do you think you would rate?
Ooh, outside the top 20 for sure.
How far down?
Well, it's a top 20, so I mean,
Wait,
once you
hold
get to
on.
21 to 100,
I think
doesn't really matter.
I think what we would need to establish first is, are we going based on personality, or are we going based on what's in your collection?
hey, it's your list.
Oh shit! I gotta give you a little bit of shit, man, especially on the air. It was.
Hey, I can take it.
It was a hard time.
You know
getting
that.
on
Hey,
here
if you know
since-
anything about me, Derek, you know that I will stand there and take it. I'm not going to run away. I will
also know
take it.
that
I'll
you'll
talk to you.
Sit there and
Bring it
accuse
up on the
somebody of
air.
some
You go
shit
ahead.
They didn't do.
Say what?
When you accuse me of shit I didn't do, because I'm a terrible admin.
Well, yeah, there's that.
I gotta give you a little bit of shit though for how hard it was to get in contact with you to get you on the call. Because let's be real, it's ridiculous.
Oh well, I never log on to Skype other than to do this.
You have me blocked on fucking Facebook now, so when you message the page, I can't respond to you.
That's because if I bring up something on the GameWorn hockey jersey collectors and stand up for myself, I ended up getting blocked.
I didn't do that. And here's
I
the
understand
thing.
that.
And this is for
But you're part of the
everybody
group,
listening.
right? You're part of the administrators in that group, right?
I am, but because of our history and how much shit you talk to me, not only out there, but to my face and tell me I'm a bad admin and I need to make you admin and all this other shit. And when I tell you to stop and you don't, that's when anytime your name comes up, just so you're aware, don't ever assume that I've done anything regarding that, because when your name comes up, I have left the building. Like, I've left the planet. That's how far away I get from the situation. So I'm not even involved in the discussion. Just so you're aware.
Perfect.
So now the next time you get banned or removed for 2 weeks or whatever, I had nothing to do with it. You don't.
Well, yeah,
need to
it was
worry about
another
me.
admin. You know the story, Derek. I'm sure that you're aware of it. It was another admin who took a shot at me. I stood up for myself, and I get blocked.
I know the story very well.
Yep.
I was up to date on it,
Yep.
and I know that you thought it was me instantly. It wasn't.
I have no idea who Jeremy was. I couldn't pick the guy out of a lineup.
I'm not.
So
I'm
who
not
else would
saying
it
you
be?
do. I'm just saying you do like to jump to conclusions, and there's a reason why I am the way I am in regards to these types of situations. But let's have a good segue into vintage. Casey, what do you know about vintage? How's that market going?
Isn't that from like 2013 back?
Yeah, what is vintage? Can we define what vintage is? Because damn, dude, is vintage always changing, or is there a specific year and it stays that way?
I think 92-3 back.
Does it ever change?
I would
What
agree
is
with
vintage?
Matt. I would say the era that ends for me with vintage is CCM Ultrafill, and I know that they wore those in the mid to late 90s. A few teams did, but to me, a CCM Ultrafill shirt looks and feels vintage to me compared to all this other stuff that's out there today.
So
and then you
think
get into
it's
the
more,
mesh,
not
you get
necessarily based
into-
on the year. It's more the jersey material, the jersey feel, and the style.
That's a unique perspective. That's pretty cool. I never thought of it like that.
And the reason I say that is because a CCM Ultrafill jersey was no different for your men's league. I mean, for a pro jersey, it was no different for your men's league versus the NHL. I mean, it was a standard cut. It looked like a square, unless they did alterations to it, obviously. But once they introduced AirNet for pretty much all the teams in the late 90s, and then you had Nike come into play, Pro Player, Starter, who made the lightweight mesh, they started to cater more towards the players. I don't know that I've ever read an article from the early 90s, the 80s, about players complaining that their jerseys weighed too much.
Nope.
So to me, that mindset of, oh my God, we need to reconfigure the way that a hockey jersey is made is a new era mindset, and the old vintage, if you will, players never thought about that stuff.
I mean,
So you're saying Crosby's a whiny bitch?
He's also a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, 2-time Conn Smythe Trophy winner, 2-time Olympic gold medalist.
how
But
many
hey,
of that was purchased?
he is no Connor McDavid. That is for sure.
I mean,
I just
Bettman
like giving you
purchased
shit
what?
too,
How
Casey.
many of that?
I know. Hey, I can take it.
He definitely was purchased his first championship because there's no way in hell the NHL was going to allow the Penguins and Sidney Crosby to lose to the Red Wings 2 years in a row when they're toting his line saying he is the face of the NHL and that. Come on.
Hey,
Come on.
if Nick Lidstrom could hit the broadside of a barn with a wrist shot and get it past Marc-Andre Fleury, that game goes to overtime. But hey,
Not
not my fault.
we just let players play and automatically, we just rescind automatic game suspensions because, fuck the rules when it comes to the Penguins. Yeah.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but Sidney Crosby didn't even play the third period of that game, and the Red Wings still couldn't tie it.
Oh, it was about Malkin in what was it, Game 3?
No, I know, but you're ignoring the fact that Crosby didn't play the third period of Game 7.
To be honest, I don't really remember much of that series, except for key small points. I'm gonna be blatantly honest.
Okay.
All right, vintage. Or do we bitch about the new practice jerseys?
Wait, are we talking about vintage or practice jerseys now?
Either.
So back to your
Whichever way
original
you wanna
question,
go.
Derek. You asked me about the value of vintage jerseys.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
And what the market is like right now, because I don't really dabble in vintage because there's not too much that I'm necessarily interested in. I haven't been up on
Sure.
that part in a while, but I know that there's some strict, vintage only collectors.
I think that anymore, it's not necessarily comparative to the WHA, if you will, but I think that it is. If you were to go back to, let's say, 2003, 2004, you had a niche of WHA collectors in the hobby that were driving up the market for WHA stuff. Denver Spurs, the New Jersey Knights, all that stuff. And those handful or dozen collectors ended up leaving. They ended up selling the stuff. And I'm not saying that WHA doesn't have value anymore. It certainly does, and there are people who collect it. But as the game gets newer and newer, and I think the demographic of collectors to a certain extent is getting younger and younger, because you have more opportunities to get into the hobby by way of Migrate or Fanatics. So if you're a 20-something-year-old, you don't need to necessarily be an old school guy that knows about the forum online. You can just go to NHL auctions and enter the hobby. So vintage, to me, in the market, there are some serious collectors still out there, no question, whether or not it's a team style and putting together the different variations of the team throughout the years, or a specific collector. Those values still hold. It's just finding those niche of collectors that collect those certain items. For me, with the Mario Lemieux stuff, I know, I would say, where 90%, if not more, of Mario's jerseys prior to 1996 reside in most collections. And that's, just being around over the course of time. But when you start figuring out where the stuff is at, it makes it easier to identify who's collecting what. And a lot of the stuff is getting moved privately because collectors over time have identified who these people are that are really interested in the stuff, that are going to pay a premium, and they don't have to go the auction route. Quick example, I know I'm kind of rambling, but last night there was a Mario Lemieux jersey that sold at Heritage. It sold for $9,600. It was video matched to the first part of 1989-90. It was a great shirt. He wore it for 4 regular season games. It had, I think, 5 repairs on it. He didn't do anything necessarily terrific in it, but in my opinion, it's a $15,000 to $20,000 jersey. I know who bought it, and I talked to him today. He was thrilled that he got it for $9,600 because he knows that it's worth probably double that. And he may go pursue another collector who knows about the vintage market in Lemieux, but he may never have seen the auction. So it's an interesting market, but I think you see the vintage stuff, whether or not it's on a classic or I know Matt's favorite on the GameWorn.net auction. But I think vintage is still holding strong, and I think Barry would agree with that as well. Vintage is selling right now for sure.
Do you think because of those factors where it's less public or less in the public eye that those are driving up public sales that we see?
What do you mean, less in the public eye of?
So you see less of the, since a lot of the deals are done privately and people know each other at this point, when a few vintage of them pop up, they tend to be on the pricey side. Do you think that's normal, like a regular asking price between people, or do you think they're able to ask more than they normally would if more transactions were happening publicly?
Well, I think that it comes down to, and you've mentioned it in the past, supply and demand. When the collectors who have pursued things over the course of 5, 10, 15 years, and they have really what they want, then they're going to keep it. I know of several large collectors, especially that collect Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux, that they have what they have and they're not willing to let it go, and that limits the amount of other stuff that comes to the market that people don't even know that are in the hobby, but they've been gobbled up by other collectors, and they just think, okay, I've got to get this Crosby jersey because I may never know when another one's going to come up, or I've got to get this Yari Curry Edmonton Oilers jersey because I don't know when another one's going to show up. Little do they know there may be 10 of them that are in the collecting hobby. They just have to make those connections and figure out who owns those shirts, and eventually they'll come up for sale again.
Good point.
I was going to say that I thought the vintage market was dead because I never see anything, and I think there's stuff that's exchanged privately, but I never see anything from the 80s, if you will. Hardly ever.
But dead from a scarcity perspective or dead from a pricing perspective?
I would say I guess scarcity, because you just don't see it. So maybe it truly isn't dead, but I never see it exchanged, and I never see stuff pop up, especially with the 80s. And I don't know how many sets every team had and whatnot, but I can only gauge on teams that I've seen, and I just don't see the movement or somebody going, even, hey, look at my new jersey I just got at an expo or whatnot. They just don't come up until it's almost like the classic auctions where they're like, oh, we have the so-and-so collection. And you're like, oh, there's an 80s shirt I've never seen before because maybe that person passed away or they're selling it or whatnot. But you just don't see them.
Hey, I'm going to let you know that a lot, these are rumors and things that I can't confirm, but people say them and they say them frequently. So you know how Sean Chalk has a lot of nice older stuff that a lot of people would really want. He's a different breed than the type of guys that we're talking about, because Sean will be like, hey, I got this in the mail the other day. I have heard that there are so many guys that are in the more private market where big deals go down, like really big deals, that you will never hear of because that's just how they are. So they won't post that I got this in the mail, or they won't post that I made this deal. You will never know that the transaction happened unless you know the person and you happen to see their shit. I've heard of a number of people that are like that.
I would agree, Derek, and I think that those people are in the hobby, meaning they may be on Facebook, they may be out on the online forums, but you will never see them post, but they are aware of what's going on in the hobby. They're connected with the dealers, and they communicate with them, obviously, to get some of the shirts, and they'll bid on items if they come up for auction, but they are very, very private, no question.
And in those regards, it's hard to tell where some of those big ticket items go or where they're at, or at that point we lose track of them over time. You just don't know where they're at. If you wanted to obtain them, you're shit out of luck.
Yep, I actually had a guy contact me back in, this has been maybe 10 years ago, roughly. But he actually used an alias when he contacted me to try and photo match a Mario Lemieux shirt. And we ended up meeting each other, years down the road. But they will go even to that extreme to remain anonymous, or as anonymous as they can. And that's their prerogative. I share my collection online, and I don't have an issue with it, but for some people it's for their enjoyment and their close friends, and that's pretty much it. And I respect that. But like I said, for me as a collector, I love knowing where the stuff is at, because that way I at least have a line out to that person if they ever decide to move something that I'm interested in.
And that kind of brings up a really cool opportunity for me to talk about a few things I was going to try and hit. One of the things that we're doing with GameWorn.us, I'm redesigning the website or working on it right now so we can put a jersey tracker in there. we're gonna make it so, well, eventually. So it's a multi-stage process. Right now, my objective is I'd like to just have people put in their jerseys in the database so we know what's out there. And it's not tied to anybody. Nobody knows who has what. So these guys that want to be private, that's cool. But at least let us see this cool shit, you know? Like, you might not want us to know that you have this. You can post it on there and it can be seen, you know? Here's what this jersey from this player that was worn in a specific game looks like, and here's the wear that it has on it. That's really cool to see. Stuff like that. What we'd like to do eventually is make it so people can say, all right, I do own this, and then you can make it private or public. So if it's private, you can say, all right, I own it, and then it'll say this is owned by a private person or whatever, you know, and you can make the distinction that way. So those are things that we're working on. And the reason I want to bring that up is something nice kind of happened. It's no surprise that I've been looking for people to work with us, you know. Had a higher end collector ask me or discuss with me not too long ago about being a part of GameWorn.us. So we're going to talk about, you know, bringing them on and seeing what things we can do, and that's kind of what the entire thing is, a big huge community. But when we launch the new website, we're going to have a lot of different services as well. So we wanted to really talk about that jersey tracker because we want people to engage, and that's one of the big things that we want to work on. And I talked to this collector who's we're going to look at joining forces to try and get more engagement, because we've talked about how Facebook kind of, in my opinion, hurts us because it's the lazy man's thing, if you will. There's no effort in there, and if you don't put any effort behind this hobby, you're losing. There's no reason to be in it. You know what I mean? So if you put a little bit of effort, everybody can enjoy it, and I think it'll just help the hobby. And this collector that I've been talking to, he's a pretty big name collector. He wants, you know, the hobby to be better. So we're gonna try and join forces on that. And also, yeah, that shit ain't cheap. So I don't know how much more I can run on it. So we actually run the website on our 5%/8% consignment rates. So if you see something you like, buy it. We only get a little small amount of money from it, and that keeps the servers running. It keeps us allowing development. I know a couple people have asked if I'll set up a donation page. I don't really have the time to do that right now. But if you do want to make a donation to keep the servers up and running, to help us pay for development, because that's all coming out of my pocket right now, PayPal at GameWorn.us. PayPal at GameWorn.us. We'll take what anybody wants to give. So there is that. But this shit ain't cheap. But we're trying to collaborate with multiple different forces to try and accomplish exactly what you're talking about, where these jerseys get into private people's hands and they want to stay private. That's cool. I'm 100% on board with keeping privacy, but I would love to know that these things exist. I know there's cool shit out there that I haven't seen because it's in somebody's private hands that doesn't want to make it known. But man, it would be really cool to see some of that stuff, right?
Agreed.
Some really historic things.
So, Derek, in that vein, did you ever see Drop the Pucks when it was a gallery?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is, I doubt that that's your vision for this jersey tracker, but that was really the catalyst for me to want to save virtually every single game-worn game-worn Pittsburgh Penguins jersey photo that I could ever find. And I've always maintained that there's no better way to authenticate a hockey jersey than A, seeing other hockey jerseys that are game worn, but B, seeing them actually on the ice, either up close or in photos or in videos, because you're going to end up finding a photo match or a video match if you can narrow down when it was worn and you have the right resources. But the undertaking just for the Penguins alone, and I've got a gallery on my site that people can check out, and it's all anonymous, and I format the pictures and everything else. The only thing that I would caution you in doing with that venture is there's got to be more than one person doing it. And I don't know if there's going to be an automatic upload feature, but to make it easy for people to submit items and it automatically posts them, because I know you got a little kid, but it takes so much time. It's almost like you're chasing your tail all the time and you never make any progress. So I don't know. That's one thing to consider, at least, is what's the mechanism for them to get the items to you?
I don't want to talk too much about it because it's still in development, and
Sure.
it's, we're still, the only way I could afford to do this is do it in payments and pay it as I get paid from my, like, a real freaking job, right? So I'm kind of like sketched about it, because if it doesn't work out, I'm fucked. But the objective is we're gonna source for, collectors to peer review, if you will. So you'll be able to upload your thing, it'll go to a system and we can take a look at it, and if it's good, then we can say you're clear and it's posted right away. That way you're doing all the information because you know about it. You know about this stuff, so you're gonna upload it. You're gonna put your LOAs on, and I've got it so you can select and add different categories. So you're gonna select or add the year, the team, the player, the set, if there's a subset, because like with the Red Wings, they've had set 1, subset 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I've seen like set 1s with a 4 in the neck because there's 4 different set 1s, so we call it a subset. Different attributes, so if it's backup worn, game issue, whatever the hell, autograph removed, name on back removed, anything like that, all the attributes, you set all that, right? Then you upload pictures of the jersey, and you can add, like, here's my general pictures, or you can add, and we're going to have a section where it's like, these are the type of pictures that we want, and we're going to lay out how you would lay the jersey. So we're going to need a picture of the front, a back, the right arm, the back of the right arm, the left arm, the back of the left arm, flip it inside out, let's get a picture of the numbers, like all the details, things that you would say, like if you had a jersey in your hand and you go to the website, you could pull up that picture and be like, the stitching on this is off, so it's not actually that jersey, you know what I mean? So we're cataloging that. If there's multiple LOAs, so Migrate issued an LOA, the team issued an LOA, somebody else authenticated and issued an LOA, maybe it's autographed on it and you have an LOA for the autograph from PSA, is that who does autographs?
JSA, usually PSA's cards.
Yeah, JSA. Yeah, but you would be able to digitize your existing LOAs. You could upload photo matches. We're kind of putting all that information at your fingertips. You plug in the information where it needs to go. You can write a description if you want to add or modify set information. So like all the jerseys from this set, or there's an anomaly in this set, you can put it and it's tied into all the jerseys from that set. So if you view, 2016-17 Red Wings set 1 whites, then you'll see the information for any of the Red players from that set, so you can see what the anomalies would be. So we're trying to structure it in a very, very specific manner to make it easy to browse, easy to add as much information, and authenticate. Because when a jersey pops out, what I would like to see is when people get them, they add them in as you get them. That way, it then at least becomes a little bit harder to even falsify at that point, because we know that this jersey came out, this jersey's in the hobby, someone has it, they've uploaded this information, and I can even go as far as to, if I have this jersey in my hand, flip it inside out, take a look at the stitching pattern on the numbers, see where the stitching started, see where it ended, and see if it matches up on the pictures that we have on the site, and call it a day. Like, I've thought about this platform for so long, and I'm finally getting a chance to do it if we can do it right. But it's just a hefty investment. So there's a lot of development work. There's a lot of bug testing that we have to do. We have to do the approvals. We got to set up like experts or peer review system. And we're going to have a way, I got to figure out a way to report it. So like if you have an issue with something, you can say, I don't think this is right. Here's why I don't think this is right. Here's my research regarding it. Submit. Somebody can take a look at it and be like, yeah. And then we'll start cataloging things that are fake as well. So not only will you have the real ones, you'll have the fake ones. Basically anything that's been circulating in the hobby I'd like to see. That's the idea in a nutshell.
And I think that's all fantastic, and I think that really makes the hobby a whole lot better. And you start building that database where, yeah, even if you have shy collectors who don't want to put their name out there, this gives them a great avenue where they can still be anonymous. But yeah, you get to see some of the gems that we don't normally get to see. Maybe they show up at a convention or something like that, but otherwise you don't get to see that stuff.
I tried to start up a Wikipedia originally for this, but Wikipedia was just, it's too hard to manage, it's too hard to edit. The bots were incredibly fucking hard to combat. And it didn't structure the information well enough, or at least what I wanted. So it had to be custom designed. So that's what we're doing. It's expensive as fuck.
And Derek, I think it's a great thing to do. And I sent on the chat to the call the link of what I do. And I just do updates throughout the season. I've gone all the way as far back as 2006, 2007, documenting every single set change that the Penguins have done, every single unique NHL auction set that they've worn, military appreciation. I don't know what the hell, Valentine's Day. I don't even know what they do anymore. Hockey fights cancer. I mean, it's the Penguins' Valentine's Day. Pink, Crosby's a puss. It all goes hand in hand, right?
Oh yeah.
But to me, it's easier to keep track moving forward, and then as I'm keeping track moving forward, going back and adding everything else previously.
Right.
And I've gone back as far as 87, 88 and determining exactly when the team switched to a new set of jerseys. So it definitely can be done. It's just it's a labor of love, and that's a lot of labor that you're putting on your plate. So
for one person, it would be hard. That's why I want to open it up to everybody.
Sure.
I've got, 50 jerseys behind me. I can do, if I did a jersey a day, it'd take me 50 days.
Yep.
If everybody did one jersey a day of their own jerseys, we'd have a pretty hefty database. And the beautiful thing with something like that is the amount of references that you can have. Hey, somebody has this jersey. It looks kind of funny. Let me go to this database and look at the other 10 examples of that exact same year, that exact same set. Oh, wait, that's not that specific year. Let me go through a couple different years and see what it looks like. Oh, it's closer to this one. Maybe they were wrong on the year. Or maybe it's just a fake. Maybe they don't know what they have. Or maybe it's a super good find because somebody didn't see this minute detail in this jersey over here, but it's in the database and there's like 10 examples of it. Like, it would be so powerful. It's just one of those things that once the platform gets released, everybody's gotta, or at least we gotta hope people participate, which, I mean, I'll have my jerseys on there, of course, and I'm sure a handful of you guys, but that goes back to the whole not being that lazy Facebook only collector, right? So if we get the guys that actually love this shit, love this hobby, want to participate, it'll develop itself. I think we just need a place to do it that makes it easy enough to do it in a manner that makes sense. Because I know people have tried it before, and some of the concerns is everybody put all this time and effort into a database. Somebody had an extensive database from some time ago and then passed away, and nobody had access to it anymore. And I completely understand that, which is why I've been kind of talking to different collectors about what they're able to do, what they might bring to the table to bring a partnership on, so all that information can kind of have a safeguard. So if something were to happen to me, somebody else knows how to get to that website or has the administrative credentials, or, because GameWorn.us is an actual LLC. It's a partnership, which I'm the only member right now because my partner was murdered. So everything falls back to me, and it's scary to only have one person in on that in case something were to happen to me, because there could be some people could find some valuable information on that website right now, and when we roll this thing out, we're hoping to have a crap ton of valuable information. So at that point, with multiple people in the partnership, you have that redundancy, you have that continuation, that fallback cause of offense.
My only suggestion, Derek, my only final suggestion is for all the photos that can be uploaded, could they make sure that they're in the vertical format so we cut the fucking sleeves off of every jersey picture that's ever been posted?
There's going to be multiple areas where you can upload. So the one is just you can upload whatever the hell you want about the jersey. That's cool. The other one is actually going to have photos that go through review process, and you have to match them up like numbers 1 through, I think we have 22 different formats of pictures, and if it doesn't fit the format of the picture, it'll get rejected.
Praise Jesus.
I've thought about this for so long, so it's just
I swear to God, when I see pictures posted online, if you can't rotate your phone to fit the goddamn sleeves of the jersey into the viewable area of your camera, you should have your phone confiscated, and you probably shouldn't be able to get a job in this country. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
There's an absolute technique to taking pictures of a jersey, that's for sure. And that's why I love the old T-style jerseys instead of like when they went to Reebok Edge, because those T-styles are so easy to photograph. The Edge, I'm always like, I don't know what to do with the arms, and the arms look all dangling and crappy.
The shoulders are the biggest pain with those damn patches.
The patches are the worst.
And then you have the double elbow area that won't lay flat, so you're sitting there pressing it out like a freaking iron with your hands, making sure that it's going to lay flat just for 10 seconds so you can take a picture.
Yep.
As to plagiarize other websites like Migrate or capsjerseys.com. Nah, I don't want to do what they're doing, though. That's the difference, is I want people to upload their own shit. I want you to have the jersey in your hand, you take the pictures of it. I've seen capsjerseys.com. It's a great website. It's a good resource. I think that can be expanded on.
I mean, you look at Migrate Vintage. I think that is a great resource, but they've posted 6 jerseys in like 6 years.
We need to have a place we can expand on, and it's not a one-person job. And that's kind of like the objective behind the redesign too. Is like right now I'm writing all the articles on the website, and people can send me articles, and I'll edit them and whatever and put them up there. I'm actually going to make it so people can submit their own articles to the website, and if they're good, I can greenlight them and they'll go right to the main page. Otherwise, you can just go through and see everybody's articles. Like, the entire objective then becomes more community-based, because a lot of people are afraid that, like, I'm controlling the content of GameWorn.us, and that is not the objective at all. I want everybody to be able to submit whatever information they want. I think the more information, the better. And it's just, we need to have a platform that allows that. I've never turned down an article from anyone. I've always posted them so far, but the process can be easier. So that's what we're kind of striving for, is for the community to feel like they have some ownership in the information that's out there. I think that's what we need.
There's a Pittsburgh Penguins equipment sale this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. I heard there was going to be protesters outside the equipment sale, Derek, protesting the amount of control that you have at GameWorn.us.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me.
We're going to counter-protest with some McDavid supporters.
So what's the pricing on that stuff out there, Casey?
I bet all the McDavid supporters will be holding Sidney Crosby jock straps.
That's nuts.
Well played.
Jesus. Y'all terrible.
They're pretty small. They could probably hold 2.
He would need Leon Draisaitl to help him out to carry both sides of Sidney Crosby's jock strap.
I thought he wore a Jill.
Oh.
No, I know that you guys don't care about this, but I'm sure he's gotten a new one, but he wore the same freaking jock for like 20 years, from junior all the way through the NHL. It was disgusting. I think Dana Heinze posted a picture on his Twitter account years ago. It was freaking nasty.
It's because there's nothing there to protect.
That's fun stuff to hear, though.
Sometimes I think, like, if I ever saw him in a bar, would I talk shit to his face and try and get him to fight me? And would I fight him? I think that's every hockey fan's dream, or like 90% of hockey fans' dreams is to like fight Sidney Crosby. You could probably raise a lot of money for charity if you like had people pay money to fight Sidney Crosby.
Some of us remember the days when you used to have like the school fair and they'd have that car that shows up and like for like $5, or back in the day it was probably $1, you get 3 swings with the sledgehammer.
Oh yeah, that's one of the football.
Nashville does that.
Nashville does it. Smashville does
Yeah,
it.
those freaking
yeah, they did it this year.
honky tonk hillbillies down in Nashville tried to do that. It didn't work.
They
Man,
do that every game, dude.
don't be mad because they got eclipses and shit.
Hey, we had an eclipse here too in Nebraska, 100%. The only way that watching an eclipse is cool is that if the sun would have bored a hole straight through the moon as the moon passed in front of the sun. Other than that, if you cared about the eclipse, I'm sorry, you might be a loser.
Hey man, guess what?
There were like 30 people standing outside my office building. I just walked right past them, went back to work. I'm like, guys, it's a shadow.
That's true. There's nothing fun about it. It's not like collecting hockey jerseys, huh? All right,
That's
man.
true.
That is all the time that we have for tonight. We'll have to pick this up another time. Thanks for listening to all my bullshit.
That was true.
Hey now. I feel like it was important things to say.
Sure.
Casey, if you want to unblock me on Facebook, you'll be able to find out, when the show's happening. It'll be easier to get you on. Just don't bitch at me about what's going on in the group when it pertains to you, and I think we'll be good. Alright, guys. Have a good one. Take it easy.
Later.
How many people want to kick some ass?